Well, hello guys, I'm Pandu Nayak and welcome to my channel Physics Karuna. So today I'm going to discuss atom chapter. Before starting the chapter, I'm going to discuss few things here. So as we know here, atom chapter which is a very tiny chapter in a plus 2, but you always understand that it has a significant importance in theoretical as well as competitive exams. So because if I say with the atoms, with the atoms related certain chapters are there, dual nature of particles, dual nature of matter, sorry, and nuclei also. And based on this chapter only, those things can be explained in a clear manner. Okay. So once again, welcome to my channel. So let's start our topic called atoms. So before that atom, I'm going to give you the introduction. So it's hardly if I speak. If you spend 40 to 45 minutes, you're going to complete this chapter, and you will be pocketing almost 2 to 3 marks for theoretical exams. If I say, sometimes you can be pocketing almost 5 marks from this chapter. So definitely one more thing I can say, there is a one question or one interdisciplinary question also comes for IIT, NEET and all other competitive exams. So I'm going to discuss one by one. So do follow my channel, subscribe it, comment on it so that I can upgrade my videos in the future. So let's start our topic. So our topic is atoms. So atom, if I start first before starting the atoms, I'm going to give you some introduction here. So this introduction, what I say here, so in 1803, let's talk about the history here. In 1803, there is a person lived upon earth called, name is Dalton. His name is Dalton. Okay, so Dalton tha. So he was alive at that time, 1803. So he gave one simple explanation regarding atoms. So we know already matters. Matter means everybody knows at that time. In 1803, everybody knows what is a matter. But Dalton has started a certain seed studying about a micro level things. So there is a certain important things. As from the matter, there is definitely a certain magical thing, you can say, a certain important thing, a mysterious thing was there in the matter. So what he started giving, he started explanation towards a micro level thing. So a subatomic particle, he started giving it. So he told that a tiny particle which forms a matter. So a tiny particle which form a matter, he named it as an atom. So the atom is nothing but, he told that the atom is a tiny particle. This tiny particle is going to form a matter. So this formation, this particular thing is given by Dalton. So after the Dalton, there are many ways. This particular statement, this is a small statement. What is this? You simply see matter is made up with a small tiny particle. The statement, from the statement only, there is a lot more science came out of this particular statement. So if I say the entire nuclear physics, entire modern physics started from this particular statement only. What is the statement? Once again, see guys, the statement was given by the Dalton in 1803 is matter is made up with a tiny particle. Those tiny particles he told as an atom. So he didn't give anything. He didn't spoke anything about an atom. He told only the tiny particles will be there. So as the modernization started, because in 1803 and already industrial revolutions were started in an initial position at that time in Europe. So this is the important thing they have started. They wanted to do something different. So you see here, as I speak here in a different manner, matter is a macro physics, you can say. Matter is a macro physics term, and atom is a micro. So micro, if I see micro things, if I study, those are modern physics. Macro things if I study, those are classical physics. Classical physics, those are old physics. And atom and these things are micro level physics. So this is the thing. We started with the small statement, Dalton statement. We have started improving this atom, and we have found many things. So nowadays, you see, the application is you will not imagine. There is a lot thing was improved in this nowadays. So you see, as from the atom, the micro level, we have started studying about it, and we found many useful things. So we will not discuss the applications of it in a plus 2, but because you will be studying this thing in your higher education. But I am going to discuss what is the atom, what it constitutes, its properties, all those things I am going to discuss in this chapter. So here, this is a little introduction. We started from the Dalton. So now, one more fellow, J.J. Thomson. Okay, J.J. Thomson. So he didn't speak about a nature, because Dalton, he didn't speak about the nature of atom, what it consists, what are the things and all, he didn't speak about it. But somebody from J.J. Thomson in, I can say here, in 1897 year, in 1897, J.J. Thomson, somebody's son, okay, J.J. Thomson came, okay, J.J. Thomson is alive in 1897, you can remember like that. So J.J. Thomson, this fellow started something new. He has taken the statement of the Daltons and he wanted to study about it. So he found something that the tiny particle is called as atom. Okay, what could be the nature? Why the atom is so neutral with the electrical things, and why it is so neutral? So he gave one certain model, that is a watermelon model in general way you can say. So here atom could be like this. So this atom is totally made up with positive charge. So remember, this entire thing is like watermelon red color. This positive whatever I am drawing here, this entire thing is positive charge. Okay. And he also explained that with the black, already watermelon, if I cut it, you will find a arrangement, a pattern of seed you can see. The pattern of seed will be negative charge is told. So this positive charge will be balanced by the negative charge. That is why this atom is a neutral. So he started giving that definitely if atom is a neutral means you should have a balancing thing in that. The atom is also made up of some matter only. But in that atom, the certain things, whatever is present in the atom, it should be balanced. So he explained that the atom is balanced is because of in the atom there is a positive charges are there, entirely made up with positive charge, and this negative charge will be immersed somewhere like seeds of watermelon. With that the entire positive charge is stable. This stable thing is so this is stable. So the stability of atom he explained in this manner. J.J. Thomson is explained in this manner. But he couldn't give any experiment, a proper experiment or anything. He didn't give any experiment. And he just spoke about the nature. What are the things, what is the nature present, what are the matter contains in this one. He spoke about the nature of this matter. That's important thing did by the J.J. Thomson. So that matter is, he told that it is consist of positive as well as negative. Positive is entirely, the entire atom is positive charge, but the negative charge is just a point we will immerse like this, so that this pattern will give a stability in a atom. That was given by J.J. Thomson. Okay. Will this be enough for the atom? So he didn't give any experiment. There is no approval of it. Then what happened? His students, Rutherford. So he is important now. So Rutherford, what he is trying to do? His mentor, J.J. Thomson's model he has taken and he wanted to prove experimentally. So that experimentally, the experimental thing is he started as a alpha scattering experiment. We also call it as a Rutherford model also, atomic model also. Or else one more thing, planetary model. Also we can say nuclear model also, there is one more name. So these are four models we can say. So this he wanted to prove, this thing he wanted to prove with some experiment, so that everybody can approve. So that experiment named as a alpha scattering experiment is given by Rutherford in 1911. So taking into consideration of this model, J.J. Thomson model, he started so this matter, or he wanted to prove this thing. So unfortunately, he found that something different he found. What is it? So Rutherford model, or alpha rays or alpha particle, you can say alpha particle or alpha rays, both are same. Alpha particle scattering experiment. Alpha particle scattering experiment. So in the alpha scattering experiment, he got some setup. So what is the setup? So he has taken the radioactive source which will give a alpha rays, which can emit alpha rays, which can give a alpha decay. You can name anything. So let's start that. He has taken one source of it. So the source is like this. So the source he has taken. From this source, he wanted to this source named as a lead cavity. So from this lead cavity, we'll talk the source. This source is a radioactive source. Okay, this is the source for a alpha particle. So from this alpha particle has started emitted. So the emission could not have, will not say that alpha, the radiation will move in a straight line. Nobody says like that. No physics faculty will explain you like that. Alpha particle will move in a straight line. No, they'll move in a random manner. They'll move in a different direction. They can. So I wanted to do something. I wanted to make this alpha particle, alpha rays, in a parallel bundle of parallel rays. So whenever I wanted to make it parallel, that parallel thing is nothing but collimation, you can say. Collimated or collimation. In that is a word terminology I am going to discuss. Collimated. Collimated means making parallel. So in a random movement of this alpha particle, I am going to make a collimation. Collimation means I wanted to make it a parallel bundle of alpha particle. This parallel thing I wanted to make. So he has utilized one simple slit. The slit, if I say, that is a lead slit. So he's taken one slit here. So he don't wanted to make this alpha particle to move randomly. So he wanted to take a slit so that a bundle of alpha rays will go into and hit the source, a gold file. He's taken one gold file here. So this gold file he marked one reference point over here, and he tried to collide this alpha particle with the reference point. So this gold file, this is a gold file, or a gold file I say, or a gold plate also, gold plate or gold fly with a thickness of 2 into 10 power minus 7 meters. Its thickness is 2 into 10 power minus 27 meters. So now whenever the alpha particle rays are going like this, so this is the cavity, he made some kind of slit. So this is also a lead slit he made. So lead slit he had. So this slit is trying to give a collimated rays, means a parallel rays will come out of it. As it comes out, you see here, so it is going to fall under a particular reference point. You see this reference point. So here so what he's trying to do with this experiment, he wanted to prove that his mentor J.J. Thomson model is correct. But unfortunately, his observations were very different. What are those observations? So he is taken that we know already. So when we talk about alpha particle is nothing but it's a helium particle, which is mass number is 4 and atomic number is 2. And it has, you can say one more thing, it has how much charge here? Positive 2 charge, 2e electrons I can say. Positive 2e charge it has. And one more thing, this positive alpha particle is positive charged. This positive charge definitely whenever it hits this particle, it is going to deflect. So when deflection occurs, he wanted to catch the deflection of this alpha particle. Alpha particle is going to show certain things on a photoelectrical plate. So if I take any photoelectric plate, if I project my alpha particle over it, it is going to show some kind of sparkles. That is called as a fluorescence property of a alpha particle. So fluorescence property of alpha particle is what? Whenever this alpha particle interacts with the any effective plate, photo effective plate. So here, so this when they are going to meet this plate, definitely it is going to show some kind of sparkle. So he is taken one such particle, one such screen he has taken. That screen is made up with the ZNS, which is a photo effective plate. Okay, so here this photo effective plate will be there, which is made up with a ZNS, means zinc sulfide. So whenever this will give whenever this rays will fall on this particular point, they might be deflected. If the deflection is there from the surface itself, then definitely what happens, the deviation which is occurred, so total model is correct. He wanted to prove it, but unfortunately he found that the deflection of this alpha particle is random. They are deflecting, instead of going to here, instead of falling here, they are deflected in a different directions. So they have deflected in all the directions, not in one direction, even one such thing. So deflection he found. So he wanted to see these sparkles, whenever the sparkles will come, some kind of sparkles come, he wanted to calculate the deviation with the angle from the reference line. So he found a certain observations here. What are those observations? Clearly you listen. So when he projected light on the gold file here, so this is, let's suppose this is our gold file. So I am taking a gold file here. So this gold file, whenever he impinged on the gold file, instead of penetrating into it, the whatever the alpha particles are there, they are deflected in a different direction. And one more thing he has observed that within the range of less than 1 degree, he didn't find any sparkles here or here. Anywhere he didn't find a sparkles. So this he didn't find a sparkles means definitely that ray could be rebounced. So okay, there is a rebouncing also he found. And the different deviation, different deflection of alpha particle and their angles also he found, and he concluded one best observation he made from it. So those observations we are going to see. So this is a basic setup of a alpha particle scattering experiment. So let's start. What are the basic things he have found? Let's start and we'll talk about it. So what are the observations he made from the alpha particle? So what are the observations he made and what are the things he made? We'll discuss one by one. So let's say I am going to remove some off of the board. Let's suppose I am going to remove it and I am going to explain. So let's take, this is the observation part. This is all the setup and all, and I just wanted to comes a few observations from this particular points. What are those points you see? So first thing he made that whatever the J.J. Thomson model is there, it's a wrong thing he told. And secondly, he told that all the positive charge is concentrated at the center. So at the center, this is called as a nucleus. This is the first thing observation. First observation is what? All the positive charge will be concentrated at the center of the atom. Center of atom. That center I am going to say that is a nucleus. He proposed it. Second important thing he told that in an atom if I take okay, this is an atom and it has a nucleus. So he also proposed there is a electron cloud also there, and in atom there is a space also there. So regarding the space and electron cloud concept also given by this alpha scattering experiment. So in alpha scattering experiment you can say that what can I see in alpha scattering experiment? One more important thing is he found nucleus, and second one he told space in atom. This is one more important point. And third one is a electron cloud also there. So this, due to this electron cloud and all, whatever the alpha particle is trying to go inside the atom, and it is able to move inside, and and then deflect. The alpha particle can move inside the atom and then they can deflect. So that is a important one more thing he has concluded from it. Next, so these are the important thing, you can note it down. So let's start one more important thing, one more thing I wanted to discuss. So regarding space and regarding nucleus he found. Next, one more important thing I wanted to say. This is important for all the competitive exam. So what is that important thing? Let's talk about it. So see guys, as we see here, there is a deflection also. I can see I have mentioned with a certain angle. Whether this angle is depending on the number of lines projected on the certain area. So whether the deflection depending on this number of lines or number of alpha particle are found in a unit area, whether the deflection is important or not. Yes. So this is also given that. So he gave a number of, so if I write a number of alpha particles or alpha rays, better you particle, don't think that the particle, let's talk about alpha rays and take it. Number of alpha rays found in a unit area, is inversely proportional to, it's inversely proportional to deflection. So he concluded a simple explanation that number of lines, number of alpha particles, number of rays present in the unit area is depending on the deflection, which is in a inversely proportional. So he gave that proportion, that is he found that n theta means a number of lines here. So number of lines is inversely proportional to 1 divided by sine to the power of 4 theta divided by 2. Here theta is nothing but here deflection. So take down. Okay, he gave this proportionality constant. So you should always remember this one. Take down the notes. Number of alpha rays found in the unit area is inversely proportional to the deflection, which is n theta is inversely proportional to the sine to the power 4 sine theta by 2. He is experimentally proved this one. So based on this one also he drew certain graph also. So let's see here what is that graph. So I am going to write it again. So number of lines, so if I just remove it, so you understood any of this thing. So number of lines per unit area. So number of lines which is in n theta unit area is inversely proportional to what did I write? Sine to the power of 4 theta divided by 2. Theta is your deflection. N is the number of, you write down. N theta is the number of alpha rays per unit area. Okay. And number of sparkles per unit area also you can write. Next, theta is a deflection angle from where? From the reference line. Deflection angle. Okay. So take down this one. Next if I see, okay. Next, so guys, whenever you want a notes, what you do is you better pause the video and you can take down the notes. So so he tried to draw a graph here also, which is n theta to the deflection here in this direction. So he found that there is a hyperbola, which means they are inversely proportional. He means taking the values, he drew one graph. This graph will be hyperbola. With this graph, he found that this number of field lines, number of alpha rays per unit area is inversely proportional to sine to the power of 4 and theta divided by 2. So this is one more thing. So one more important thing he found from it. So I can say this is one more important. Next observation you see here. Next observation, this is important for your all the competitive exams. Next important thing he found, that is, so one more explanation also he gave. That explanation, if I see, let's suppose, if I take he came to know there is a nucleus, and he found that whenever a ray, a beam of alpha rays, if I give like this, so beam of alpha rays, if it comes like this, he found that whatever the ray which is coming to give a head-on collision here, so which is tried to give a head-on collision, but it is not able to give a head-on collision. Instead of giving, it is rebounds back. And some other alpha rays which is tried to move in this direction, but instead of moving in this direction, they were changed their direction into somewhere, into deflection they have shown. Here also, instead of going in this direction, it went somewhere. Next, you see here, this is making some big angle here, which is a big angle, which is less than, this theta is here, here the theta is less than 180 degrees. Here also theta is less than 180 degrees. So certain things he is observed that whenever these alpha rays are trying to move nearby it, they are going to deflect. Whenever it is wanted to make a head-on collision to it, it is also deflected in backward direction. Let's suppose you see one more line, one more ray I can say, but instead of moving in this direction, it has deflected in this manner. So you see, it is also making some kind of angle. But here the angle is not less than 180. It is, you can say, this is a less than 90 only it is showing. Why the variation in the deflection? So it is due to the repulsion force. Why the repulsion force, you see? So whatever the alpha particles are there, alpha particles, alpha rays, I told you, alpha rays are the helium rays, which is H24, and this has a positive 2 electron charge. So alpha particle, if alpha rays try to move, alpha particle or alpha rays, both the same only, whenever I try to move this one, it will give a repulsion force. Due to the repulsion force, the deflection will be varied over here. That is also one of the important thing he drew it from the observation. So these are the important things from the Rutherford alpha particle scattering experiment. Okay. Next thing I am going to discuss from the Rutherford only. Here from this experiment only I am going to conclude few important things, and then I am going to discuss its limitations. So let's draw this one. Okay. So let's remove it. Okay. Let's have spoke about observation of alpha particle, and let's talk something else also. Let's talk about distance of closest approach, which is one more important topic. Distance of closest approach. We'll talk about it. So which is also under the Rutherford law only. So because you see, Rutherford has done certain thing. Alpha particle, he tried to move from try to move in an atom. That is one important thing he started giving. So let's talk about the important thing is distance of closest approach. Distance of closest approach. So what is the distance of closest approach? Let's talk about it. So distance of closest approach. What could be the distance of closest approach? As I told you here, let's talk something else. Let's suppose this is a big atom. Okay. In this atom we'll have a positive charge, that is your nucleus. And so let's start here. Let's suppose this I am drawing in a bigger manner. Okay, let's talk. This is a positive charge. This is a nucleus. This much big nucleus I have for this atom. Let's suppose I told you already he did one experiment that he started projecting the alpha particle on the atom. So he found some deflection. Let's suppose this alpha particles are alpha rays. Alpha rays I have started from the source somewhere. So source I wanted to move it. So you know already whenever it is moving towards the rays, whenever it moving towards the center of core, this is the atom. So in the core of atoms, core of this nucleus, try to move, it will be repulsed. So this repulsion is a very strong repulsion it is going to face. It is going to face a strong repulsion. Why? Because this is a positive 2e charge, that is also positive charge. So whenever it tries to move inside, it will be repulsed, I told. But whenever if I give this repulsion force, I wanted to overcome, means I have to give a energy for this particle. If I give almost a 5.5 electrical volt, so if this much electron volt energy if I could give to the alpha particle, they can also overcome, this is your nucleus, right? They can also overcome this nucleus. So nucleus, this is the center, I know this is our center, this is totally your nucleus. So whenever it, if I give more energy to it, what happens, it will try to overcome the repulsion and move towards it, but it will not approach. It will going nearest to it. That is why my topic is what is here, distance of closest approach. It means it will be approaching almost near to the core of this particular atom, core of this nucleus. So it tried to move near to it, almost near but not nearby. Then what happens, it will be so repulsed. Here one important thing I want to discuss here. Whenever it is moving, it will have more energy. Okay. One more thing I wanted to see, here also one charge, here also positive charge, here also positive. So I know already, according to the Coulomb's law, what is that, force is inversely proportional to work square. It is obeys the inverse rule. As the distance is decreases, force will be increases. Here these two are positive charge. Yes or no? So let's talk it if this two positive charge here plus 2e and the one more positive charge, distance between them is reduced, then what happens? You can see, you will find a strongest repulsion force. That strongest repulsion force create its kinetic energy into the total electrostatic potential energy. Okay, its kinetic energy, it is moving with a 5.5 electron volt towards the center of this nucleus. What can I see? This positive charge trying to move near to the, let's suppose if I zoom it, I am drawing here. If I try to move nearby, it means this positive charge I am moving nearby the core. What happens? My distance is reduced. As the distance is reduced, you will find the strongest force, strong, extraordinary strong repulsion force you can find. So that repulsion force, what exactly it will do? This kinetic energy, it is going to convert it into what here? Electrostatic potential energy. That is important. So here you have to write so we will write that one. So due to this one, due to strong attraction force, strong repulsive force, alpha particle, alpha ray, kinetic energy is converted into electrostatic potential energy, which is K is converted into what here? Electrostatic potential energy. So take down this one. Okay, so let's start here. So here you see, what did I write? So due to the strongest force, so I am going to draw in a smaller manner here. So due to here, this is a alpha particle, this is already a center core, which is positive charge, which is plus 2e charge, and this is came from somewhere with certain energy. It is approaches, almost it is approaching, means it is approached almost, if it is a r distance it is approached. This is alpha particle direction, alpha rays, okay. Then if it approaches to the distance r, this is your closest approach distance, it will face a strong repulsion force, and its entire kinetic energy is converted into electrostatic potential energy. So kinetic energy of alpha rays. Kinetic energy of alpha rays, if I write kinetic energy of alpha rays, you write alpha rays, which is I can write, I am writing with the EK, you can write of mv square. Next, due to these two charge, what is the electrostatic potential energy? Electrostatic potential energy. What will be the electrostatic potential energy? So you can write electrostatic potential energy with the EP. Okay. Electrostatic potential energy you can write 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught, because in between we have a space only. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and the charges you can write a 2e charge, and here this charge means central charge. I have to write a Z into E, means atomic number into the charge E. So you can write so two charges here, 2e and Ze divided by distance between them is r square. So this is your equation 1 you can take, this is your equation 2. Take down the notes. So as I told you here, due to the strongest repulsion force, so electric kinetic energy of alpha particle becomes a electrostatic potential energy. So now 1 is equal to 2, means from there what can I raise? Ek is equal to Ep. Yes or no? So let's take down the notes, please. So from there, okay. So from there, if I write so as I told you, 1 is equal to 2, anyhow you might be written. If I write Ek is equal to Ep, means Ek means you can put it like that only, not an issue. You can write Ek is equal to Ep because I am doing 1 is equal to 2, because the entire kinetic energy of alpha particle will become potential and electrostatic potential energy due to strongest repulsion force between the center of the nucleus and the alpha particle charge. So Ek is equal to Ep. So Ek you can put it like that only, and from there Ep means you write 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. As I told you, product of the charges I can write 2Z E square divided by R square. Okay, from this one, from this equation, R is equal to, R is nothing but what is this one? R is your distance of closest approach. Distance of closest approach you can write 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay, 2Z divided by 2Z E square divided by, you can write Ek. So here you should not write R square, but it's R only. Okay, so energy will be R only. Okay, you should change previously also. So which is I can write Ek. This is your distance of closest approach expression, which is very important for your Rutherford models. In that distance of closest approach, they can be asked in any exam. So note down this one. So here I have wrote in a previously R square. It is not R square, it is R. Okay, take down. Next, one more parameter also he explained here, which is impact parameter of collision. So impact parameter of collision is also one more important thing they were here, because Rutherford and his associate also given the distance of closest approach. One more concept they also told, that is impact parameter of collision. That is also important. Let's talk about it. So here, so next one more expression I am going to discuss in this one, impact parameter. So impact parameter of collision. Put a heading as impact parameter of collision. Okay. Impact parameter of collision. Impact parameter of collision. So as I told you already in the last observation, so whenever, let's suppose if I take a charge over here, means a nucleus over here. So alpha particle tried to come here, but instead of head-on collision, their direction in this direction, but it will be repulsed. They should be collide. This alpha particle should collide with it, but the alpha particles are positive charge. So here center is also, nucleus is also positive charge. So both will not collide. There will be the highest, strongest repulsion force. With that, they will be repulsed. And some other, because I am not only with one ray I am not doing, I am doing with a bundle of rays. So if one more ray comes here, and instead of moving in this direction, it will move like this. Here one more ray is also coming, instead of in this direction, it will move in here. So here also I am taking one more ray, instead of here, it is moving in this direction. Okay. So one more ray, if I take it here, so it should move in this direction, but instead of like this, instead of falling in this manner, they are deflected in different direction. So you see here it is making angle theta. Here also it made angle theta. It is also made angle theta. It has not moved. So as I told you, they were making a different angles. You see this theta is nothing but which is less than 180. Which is less than 180 it made. It is less than 90 you can say. Here also less than 180 you can say. Here less than 90. Means they are making a different deflection they made. And one more important thing they have to see. So this collision, this deflection is also depending on the certain pattern, one more thing. So this is the impact parameter of collision. Impact parameter of collision also a distance between this collimated rays. Collimated means a parallel rays. So this is our reference line. If I take this is your reference, because whatever is rebounds, it will be your reference. So here the distance between this ray and a adjacent one more ray, that distance I am writing with a b. This b is nothing but your impact parameter of collision. So this b increases. As this b increases here, what happened? Here to here means here to here the distance is b. So let's suppose here to here the distance is smaller, so it is deflected with 180 less than 180 degrees. Here to from this line to this line, the distance from here to here, the distance is different, then this deflection is different. So definitely based on this distance also the deflection is varying. So that is why what I am going to write, they have created one certain expression for the impact parameter of deflection, which is b is equal to you write down, b is equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught z e square divided by ek as I already told you, ek means alpha particle kinetic energy, and cot theta by 2. This is one more important deflection, one more important factor, impact parameter of collision. As I told you, impact parameter of collision is not related to anything, it's about alpha particle only. So alpha particle distance from the reference line, if varies, then definitely their deflection varies. So this is basically what this is nothing but your impact parameter of deflection. You see here, so whatever the rays which is rebounced means for them the impact parameter is 0. So if impact parameter is 0, for which impact parameter is 0 for whom? For a rebounced alpha particle. Rebounds. So rebounds alpha rays, if I write for rebounds alpha rays, impact parameter of collision will be 0. And for the different things, if you see, for a different if I draw different rays will have a different deflection. It definitely depends on the distance which is present from the a reference line to this particular rays. So this particular ray has a b, so its deflection is 180. From here to here the deflection is different, so its deflection is different. So impact parameter is also, impact parameter of collision is also one more basic important factor in a deflection. This is also proposed in a Rutherford model only. So take it. One more important thing I am going to discuss here. So take down all the notes. You can fuse and you can take the notes. You can fuse the video and you can take the notes. So let's start one more concept here, which is the size of nucleus. So let's talk here after size of nucleus, and we'll talk about the limitations of a Rutherford model, planetary model or a nuclear model. Okay, let's talk. Let's talk about the size of nucleus. Size of nucleus. Anyhow, unfortunately, fortunately, they found the nucleus. So what could be the nucleus size? Whether it is equal to the size of atom or whether it is less than that. So definitely the size of nucleus is less than the size of atom. So generally size of atom is 1 Armstrong, which is 10 power minus 10 meters it will be there for atom. But for nucleus it will be less only. So which will be around 10 power minus 15 meters. Around 10 power minus 15 in an average nucleus will have so nucleus, if I write, nucleus will be having 10 power minus 15 meters, and which is comparatively, with compared to atom, nucleus size will be less than. But I wanted to find the size of it. So you see already here one basic important thing I wanted to discuss. Atom is in a sphere. I will consider atom is a sphere. Why we need to consider sphere? Why we need to consider atom as a sphere or nucleus as a sphere or electron as a sphere? Yes, basically this question may be asked in any way. So let's listen about a concept. So sphere has a less contact area as compared to all other regular size, all other shapes. So all other shapes, if you take a sphere here, this is a sphere. If you take a square or triangle, if I put on the table, which will have more contact area. If I put this one on table, it will have a more contact area. If you put on the table, it will have more contact area, but it will have a less contact area. So that is a one reason and it is perfectly correct. So atom is taken as a sphere, it's because it has a less contact area. So you see here, I wanted to see, so whenever I am talking, so it is been clear for you. So size of a nucleus means size is nothing but what is now? The nucleus is now sphere. Nucleus is now, the shape of the nucleus is sphere. So sphere is depending on what here? Sphere is definitely depending on its radius. So if I could find radius, then definitely I can find the nucleus size also. So here they have started experimenting on it. So let's suppose, example I am telling you. So let's take the nucleus. This is your nucleus. So nucleus has a center. Nucleus has a center. So they have started alpha particle to move into it. So alpha particle, as they are moved into it by highest, like if I give 5 to 5 electron volt, it will be overcoming the, anyhow this is a alpha particle means positive charge particles, which means which is plus 2e charge particles. If I try to go to this core, definitely core is concentrated with highest positive charge, definitely it will not reach it. But if I give a extra energy to it, then definitely try to move. So when it try to move nearby it or closest to it, I told it is a distance of closest of it. But if I give more energy to it, definitely it will reach to the core and then it will be rebounced. So whenever it reaches to the core with a compulsion, so it may be covered here to here, it may be covered what here? Some radius of r. So that radius they have calculated here. So that radius of that nucleus they have calculated. So generally they told that whenever it moved from here to here, they have practically calculated that 4 into 10 power minus 15 meters they have calculated. Less than or equal. It may be less than or equal. This alpha particle may went to this one and they may rebound. So they have calculated it. But nowadays, generally they will not follow this rule, because we have a different elements, number of elements we have in a periodical table. So I will not consider this everything, every atom will be in the same size. So what he has done is they wanted to give a standard formula for it. Everything, everybody can follow it. So radius of the any nucleus, because radius if I know, I can find the size of the nucleus. So radius of the nucleus, they gave one simple relation. R is so you can write R is directly proportional to R is directly proportional to atomic number of nucleus, whatever the atomic mass number. So atomic mass number they have, which is directly proportional to A power 1 by 3. R is directly proportional to A power 1 by 3. So A power 1 by 3, if I remove this proportionality constant, that is we have an empirical value, empirical formula they have calculated, and they gave R naught, some constant, empirical constant, into A power 1 by 3. Here R naught is a empirical constant and value for it is 2 into 10 power minus 15 meters they have taken into consideration. So if you could substitute here R naught value and any atomic number, and if you do 1 by 3, then you will get a radius of any nucleus. So if you get a radius of any nucleus, you can find a value. So that is your size of nucleus. So volume of a sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube. So volume of a cube is 4 by 3 pi r cube, 4 by 3 pi r cube. So if you could find this, this will be the value. Value means definitely that is the size. So this is how the size of nucleus is found. So this concept is also given by the Rutherford and his associate. So his associate names is Gregor and Marsden. Both were very important scientists in the association with the Rutherford. So this is one more important concept. Simple, but related to this one, many questions can arise in a competitive exam. So take down. So I will discuss at last limitations of a Rutherford planetary model. Okay, these are the important things he gave. Now, limitations of Rutherford atomic model. Put a heading and we will discuss few points and then we will close this session. Okay, let's talk Rutherford atomic model. So whatever atomic alpha particle scattering experiment is nothing but that is also called as a Rutherford atomic model. So model limitations. So within from his observation, his concept, even though these are so valuable things, but still there is a certain things were limited, certain things are drawback from this atomic model. What is this? So he told that Rutherford, anyhow we found the nucleus, electron cord and all, but he didn't, okay, we will discuss one by one. So first limitation, if I say, first limitation. So first limitation he told that, so nucleus will be there, around this nucleus, so nucleus I am representing ZE. Around this nucleus electron will be revolved with the electron cloud will be there and space will be there. That is a correct statement. But whenever it is moving, so it will be balanced. The electron is staying in this orbit. It's because due to the Coulomb's force here, which is trying to pull it back, which is Fc, and there is one more also there, one more force also there is a pseudo force, which is a centrifugal force also there, which is balanced. A centrifugal, it is a electrostatic force here, and electrostatic a pseudo force, which is centrifugal force, which is balancing the electron. And he told that this electron is moving with a certain acceleration. This is a based thing. That's a drawback he made from his limitation, from his atomic model. So here he told that electrons are moves with a acceleration. That's the first thing he made. So the electron will not move, but EM theory, means electromagnetic theory, says that whenever electron is moving with an acceleration, then definitely it will going to give a radiation. So EM theory told, according to the EM theory, if I talk EM theory means electromagnetic theory. EM theory, they told that electron whichever it moves with the acceleration, they should radiate. Radiation means losing the energy. Radiation means giving a heat out. So it means whenever it radiates out means definitely it will lose its energy. Whenever it loses the energy, then it is try to move inside. It will fall into other orbit and move. It will again fall into orbit, fall into the other orbit, and then it is going to fall into the nucleus. That is a one limitation from the Rutherford atomic model limitation. So what does that means? He told that electron will have an acceleration, but actually electron will not have any acceleration. But he told that his limitation, that is the electron will have acceleration, so that there is acceleration he told, but electron will not have acceleration. In general, if I speak electron wave theory, electromagnetic theory, if I say, so here whatever the electron which moves with acceleration, definitely it has to radiate. So this radiation, whenever it gives a radiation, it is going to lose energy. It will fall into the other orbit or fall into the nucleus. So that will not happen. So electron will be in a stable condition only. Then electron will not have a acceleration. It is not having an acceleration. So that is a one limitation and a drawback from the atomic model. One more thing, second, if I speak, second from this one only, from first limitation only it will come. So when an electron is revolving with the acceleration, as I told you, it will give you a radiation. As radiation will given and it will fall into the other orbit. So whenever it falls into the other orbit, it definitely will have a radiation. So this radiation, what happens whenever it falls into it? Whenever it falls into the other orbit, then definitely its its angular frequency also changes. So frequency also changes, right? So frequency changes, then you will find a spectrum. You will find certain spectra. So regarding the spectra, he didn't speak. He didn't give any explanation for the spectra, whichever it falls. So that is also one more important drawback, which he didn't explain about whenever it falls. So radiation is occurs. Okay, if it occurs, then definitely frequency changes, means rotation, the orbital size also changes, and number of rotation cycles also changes, right? So then whenever it changes, then definitely it will give you a spectra. So regarding this also he didn't speak. This is one more important drawback. So first one is about stability of electron, and second one is about spectra. You didn't explain. So you can write this limitation in exams. Okay. So these are the important observations, limitations, and Rutherford consideration and different subtopics I have discussed. So next I am going to discuss important one, that is energy of electron. So energy of electron. Now let's talk about the energy of electron. So energy of electron also came from the Rutherford's model only. So he told that let's suppose if I draw one atom here. So let's suppose if I draw atom. This is atom. So this is your positive charge which have a Ze. I can write Ze means atomic number into E, charge, electron charge. And this charge is here E, again I am representing here. This is the electron here, it is revolving. So which is located at the distance of r. So this will be pulled because of this positive charge and negative, it will be pulled back. So which is acting here F, electrostatic attraction force, and it will be balanced by some other pseudo force. It's nothing but a centrifugal force will be balanced. When these two are balanced, then I will get a certain expression. So let's suppose if electron is moving in this direction, means it will have a centrifugal force. So centrifugal force I am writing so mass of that atom, mv square divided by r is equal to Fe, means here Fc is balanced by Fe. So you will write one step here, so it will be easy for you. So here Fc is balanced by whom buddy? Fe. Fc means rotation, means centrifugal force, which is mv square divided by r. Next Fe means what? F is electrostatic attraction force. So here what is the charge? Ze. There is a charge is E. So 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. I can write Ze and E. I am not going to consider their signs. Their polarity I am not going to consider. And distance between them is r square. Okay. So from there r and r one time it will get cancelled. I can write mv square is equal to what can I write here? 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze square divided by r. Okay. If I multiply this equation, if I multiply with 1 by 2, if I multiply 1 by 2 here, what I will get here? This is nothing but your electrostatic kinetic energy, kinetic energy of that electron. And here also, let's suppose that is we will do in the next step. So you take down the notes here. Till here you take down the notes. Next, so taking this equation here, and I'll explain here. So let's see here what happens. So here mv square divided by 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. I have a Ze square divided by r. If I multiply 1 by 2 here and here also, if I multiply 1 by 2, both sides if I multiply, this is becomes your kinetic energy of electron, and here kinetic energy of electron will be 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into Ze square divided by r. That is your energy relation, energy of an electron. Let's talk one more thing here. So let's talk one more thing. So here Ek is equal to 1 Ze square divided by 1 by epsilon. This is your first equation. Let's take this is a kinetic energy expression I found. My thing is what energy of electron, right? Energy of an electron I am finding the expression. So I found a kinetic energy. This is your kinetic energy of electron. Kinetic energy, energy of electron. Okay. Next we'll speak about a potential energy. What kind of potential energy it will have? So definitely in the particles in atom size will have a electrostatic potential energy. So you can take down that potential energy formula. You note it down, this one. So this is a electrostatic potential energy, a kinetic energy of an electron. Next, electrostatic potential energy. What makes this electron to stand here? What makes an electron to stand stationary in this orbit? It is due to what here? It's due to what here? Electrostatic potential for electrostatic force. Here pseudo force. Electrostatic force means definitely electrostatic potential energy will be there. So electrostatic potential energy I am writing here. So this is electrostatic potential energy, which means EP, which is written as, which is always what here? If it tries to, it is always negative. Why? Because according to the conservation of energy also I can write which is minus 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught charges, product of charges Ze square divided by distance between them is r. So this is your potential energy, and you have a kinetic energy also. So you have a kinetic energy. What is the kinetic energy? You got 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught Ze square divided by r. So this is your kinetic energy of electron. This is the potential energy of electron. What is the total energy of electron? Total energy of electron in the orbit. Energy of electron in a orbit. Electron in orbit you have to do. So which is the total energy, which you can write a ET. ET is equal to what can I write? E potential energy plus E kinetic energy. So this is your one more important relation. So if you just add up this thing, you will get a total energy of electron. So take down the notes. So let's start the next term. So next one is what here? Total energy I am trying to find here. So total energy of electron. So total energy of electron is what is that? E total energy is equal to EP plus EK. EP value 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught Z E square divided by R plus 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught Z E square divided by R. So if I solve it, what I will get here? Minus 1 divided by 8 4 pi epsilon naught Z E square divided by R. This is your total energy expression for a kinetic total energy of a electron. So electron, if it is revolving around this orbital, definitely it should possess with how much energy here? Minus 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into Z square by R. So this is the important concept. So this is the total energy concept for the electron. Okay. So thank you guys, and do follow one more lecture. In that I am going to discuss a Bohr's model and the de Broglie's model that will complete your entire atom chapter. So thank you all. Subscribe my channel and please do follow my lecture, and thank you all.